With the inaugural Indigenous All-Star game coming up, I thought now would be a great opportunity to look at some players who represented the black and white that had Indigenous heritage and try and make a top 5 list out of it. Collingwood have had 18 Indigenous players represent the black and white, so there wasn't enough for a best 22, so this will settle for a top 5 for now. We'll go top 5, we'll go 5 to 1. And we'll also have some talking points about what this could mean for players like AJ and Bobby Hill, who have both been selected to play in this illustrious game. So, with number 5, we're going to go with Andy Krakouer. Now, Crack represented Collingwood from 2011 through to 2013. There's a great story behind Crack. He had played for Richmond beforehand and then had some adversities outside of his footy life and found himself in prison and he was in prison for at least a couple years, right? And managed to find his way back onto the grand scene at AFL level, finding his way into a 2011 grand final playing for Collingwood. And we already know about Andy Cracker's big goal of the year in 2011 versus Adelaide. That one will never be forgotten. He was always a bit of a live wire. And what I love about these Indigenous players, besides their culture, is their flair, their ability to express themselves on the field, whether it be with the ball or without the ball. That's what I love about certain Indigenous players. You only have to look at players like Bobby Hill, even Ash Johnson at times, Shea Bolton, these types of players. They're just, the way they're able to express themselves is different. It's something that is embedded in the Indigenous culture. That's what I love about that. And while Crack only played for Collingwood for 2 years, he's definitely left us a lifetime of memorable moments. Like I said, that mark of the year against Adelaide, he had an incredible run going into the 2011 final series. He kicked 17 goals in 9 games, including the 3 goals in that losing grand final against Geelong. So, incredible effort, and I've got Crack at number 5. Number 4, I've got Sharrod Wellingham, cue the BT commentary, but premiership player, crucial, was part of that young contingency in the black and white back in the early days, 2010, 2011, 2012, I think it was his last season for the Pies. Played 92 games for Collingwood and was very prominent in the final series that he represented the black and white. The 2010 grand final replay against St Kilda, 20 touches, 2 goals. I remember the qualifying final against West Coast in 2011, 21 touches, 3 goals, and had a really good game against Geelong within one of those years as well. A 3-goal game in a 20-odd point win for the Pies. So definitely knows when and how to show up in those big games and will forever be etched in Collingwood folklore thanks to that 2010 premiership, Sharrod Wellingham. Number 3, I've got Travis Varcoe. Some of you may agree or disagree, but for me, he was just a heart and soul type of player. Was very influential when it came to the culture at Collingwood. You just knew he'd always put his best foot forward. He had dealt with some adversity himself, losing his sister just before the 2018 final series. I remember that being extremely emotional for everyone involved, even the fans just being so deeply immersed into the world of the black and white. And despite what he's done to Collingwood as a Geelong player, I think we've all been able to move past that and love Varcoe for who he is as a person and then what he did at Collingwood. I remember the early goal against West Coast in that 2018 grand final was probably the peak of the day. We know how the rest happened, but still a fond moment in a difficult game to pick some out of. So yeah, I've got Trav Varcoe at number 3. Now, number 2, this may be a little bit contentious. We'll find out in the comment section very soon. But I've got Bobby Norm Smith Hill. After what he did in that grand final, how can you not have him up there? I love Varcoe, I love Wellingham, I love Crack. But for me, it's number 2 is very clear to me. Norm Smith, amazing mark, goals, wins the grand final, helps us win the grand final. You look at what he did last year, he was just as good, and who knows what the rest of his career will look like in the black and white. Fingers crossed he stays at Collingwood and doesn't go back to Perth, where he's formerly from. Yeah, he's just such a exciting player to watch. He's eccentric, he's X Factor. I go back to talking about how Indigenous players possess this inherent trait to be able to have this flair on field and express themselves freely. So that's what I love about Bobby Hill, and talk about instant impact coming to the club in 2023 and doing what he does in a short span of time. That's why I've got him at number 2. Number 1, Neon Leon, a childhood favourite of mine. 225 games for the Pies, one of Collingwood's most exciting small forwards to grace the field. And then in the back end of his career after 2010, switched to defence and was an All-Australian defender in 2011. After his entire career being this illustrious forward, he goes and does that. So quite a diverse player in the end. Heartbreaking for him to not play in the 2010 grand final. He played the initial one, but then got dropped for the replay. I think he got dropped for, it may have been Tyson Goldsack. But yeah, known for his clutch goals and his ability just to produce magical moments. I could share an entire highlight reel. And finally, another nice little cherry on the top was the fact that he was a 2011 best and fairest runner-up for the Pies. So yeah, a lot of but yeah, really, yeah, I've got this. Yeah, really, but yeah, a nostalgic feel when I talk about someone like Leon Davis growing up, just watching him in awe. So love that. But I just want to finish on the prospect of what this Indigenous All-Star game could do to someone. I just want to talk about the prospect of what this game could do for someone like AJ, playing with quality players in a stress-free environment. I know AFL is not stress-free, and you could even argue this All-Stars game will have some players nervous because it's a massive showcase game. Depending how seriously this game is taken, if it's like an NBA All-Star game, this conversation is completely rendered useless. But if it's a relatively competitive game, if AJ can snag a couple goals and get his confidence up, you take those wins anywhere you can get it. So I'm hoping that someone like AJ can really take advantage of this showcase game. Really big opportunity to take some sort of confidence going into the VFL/AFL season. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Who's your top 5 and beyond if you want to extend it even further. Go Pies.